This is a Big Picture News special report of the presidential debate coverage.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Big Picture with Joey Mack. I'm your host, Joey McKinich. We're on there for a post-debate coverage review, if you will. I have with me my political and health correspondent out of Colorado, Ken Frederickson. Ken, say hi to the folks, will you?
Hi, folks.
We had decided beforehand we were going to come on and discuss this debate after, not knowing what the outcome would be. Just for a little background, Ken is a #1 diehard Trump supporter and has been since the very beginning. I have come on board as a Trump supporter to oppose Hillary Clinton. But frankly, people, after tonight, I am a lot more impressed by what I saw out of Donald Trump. We both took notes during this debate, so we have a few things to talk about. One thing I wanted to mention, that Ken called me before the debate, and he mentioned a source inside the Hillary camp that came out saying that Hillary would not come out and shake hands with Donald Trump and that they would lead straight into the video. And I'll be damned if that's not exactly what happened. So I think
that's right.
I think the source is pretty legit. Now we need to figure out how we can get info from the source from now on, and go from there.
I know how to do it.
Okay. Well, we're going to be taking advantage of that, people. From now on, be able to get information to you, hopefully, from the inside. That proved to be true. We kind of talked about that beforehand as a test to see if the source was legit, and indeed it is. So, Ken, what do you want to? Let's see. Right into the tape. There was no handshake. It started out extremely slanted. Things were just
how it started. The first thing when they introduced, I don't know if you saw in the very beginning, but they introduced Bill Clinton.
I did not see that part.
And then they introduced Melania, and Melania was followed by Ivanka and Don Jr. and Eric, and Bill. Bill looked nervous right off the bat. I mean, he knew he was going to be fish food, and so he looked really nervous, and he took the seat. And then they didn't even introduce Chelsea, but she just came in wandering afterwards with her I guess that's her husband.
Right.
And then of course it was a town hall format, and then this announcer begins immediately in on Trump. And talks about, you know, the worst 72 hours of Trump's campaign and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just right at the very beginning. And I thought, oh, here we go. And then they introduced, you know, Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz. And then they made very clear that all of the people in the town hall were uncommitted to any candidate.
Right.
Which at first I thought was a lie, but actually I believe it turned out to be true.
I think so, because we did see some pretty good questions coming out of the crowd. It was impressive. There was a few more that I wish would have been brought up, and the fact that they were clapping when they weren't supposed to made me believe that they were a legitimate crowd.
Right.
That was something else. I think Anderson Cooper turned out to be a little less slanted than what was the other host's name?
Martha Raddatz.
Yeah.
And she was really slanted, and I think the only reason that Cooper came off not as slanted is because Trump kept on top of him.
That's true, and he did. He held control of the debate very well, and I was very impressed with that, because he obviously didn't do that last time at all. He let it get completely out of control.
Oh yeah, that was completely absent from the first debate.
So I'd be curious to see who coached him on this debate and where that came from, because the improvement was substantial. I was typing.
From what I understand, it was a combination of Nigel Farage, who is the Brexit mastermind,
right,
from Great Britain, and I believe, and this is just kind of off the top of my head, I believe Chris Christie, and then probably some input from, you know, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka.
Right.
and then his campaign managers, especially
Well,
that lady.
and
I forget her name.
he
but
mentioned
she's really good.
he mentioned he hadn't talked to Pence either at the one issue that he had disagreed with Pence about, and we'll get to that later in the show. But I was
Right.
kind of surprised that after Pence's success in the other debate, that he didn't bring Pence in as coaching for this debate.
Yeah, that I don't know. I just don't know if he did or not.
Yeah, based on his comments, he didn't, because he said he hadn't talked to him since then. So,
Okay.
let's see. I've got my list. Is there anything you want to start out with as far as issues that we talked about?
Well, I mean, I would just, I'll just kind of go chronologically throughout the debate, and then maybe we can just keep going back and forth at certain points or whatever, because I did sort of a chronological note taking, and then maybe we can
I kind of went down the list.
Certain points.
Well, go ahead with your first point.
Yeah, I mean the first thing is, obviously Hillary came out and she did not in fact shake his hand. And now one thing I noticed was that he didn't offer it either.
Right, which makes you think he might have gotten wind of this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was exactly my thought.
Kind of mutually shook each other off. And but
which in effect, with him not doing that, did not really give her the lead in that she wanted. Had he reached for her hand and she refused it, she would have then had the excuse to come out and say exactly what she wanted to say. Fortunately for her, they brought it up immediately anyway, so it didn't really.
Right. Well, actually, neither of the moderators brought up the lack of the handshake, and which was, that was part of what the quote prophecy was. Okay. So that part of it didn't come true, but the first question was from that African American lady, and she asked something about how are you a model for today's youth?
Right.
And then Clinton came out and said, well, it's positive and optimistic, and she's overcoming divisiveness and all this. And
that's where
Trump came and said, I agree. And he talked about the economy and the trade, and he talked about the police that was shot today. And then Cooper immediately came in about and he called Trump's remark. He said it's sexual assault.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, holy mackerel.
So it was pretty
Trump
ludicrous.
He said, I'm not proud, and he went into ISIS and all that. And Cooper kept pounding him. But Trump didn't attack it. Now, this is what I thought was brilliant about Trump's strategy on this, and I don't know if you picked it up or not, but he allowed her to attack first.
Yes, I did see
and
that.
I think that was really important, because they came to Clinton, and then Clinton, immediately starts saying, well, I question Trump's thoughts on women. And he
laid back. He laid back and waited for a little bit.
Them and embarrasses them and all that. And then she goes, not only women but blacks and Latinos, and America is already great. This is the America we need. So Trump was still defending himself a little bit, but then he started in heavy, and then throughout the rest of the debate he didn't let up.
That's true.
And
held position, and was not diverted by the interruptions and so on and so forth, and actually questioned them out loud why that was happening, which was great. I mean, he pointed it out to the people that weren't realizing what was going on, and I think that was a smart move as well. One thing that they did talk about in the beginning, when she started talking about the ban on Muslims, and I don't know if where we're at chronologically with that. That's one of the first things I came up with. When she started talking about the ban on Muslims that Trump wanted to implement, he made it pretty clear, and I think he could have done a little bit better job. He doesn't want to ban Muslims because of the religion, and she poked on the fact that he was wanting to do it because of religion. He made it very clear that he wanted to vet people from a certain part of the world because of the likelihood of them being a part of a terrorist organization or part of that thing.
He went back to speaking points that he's been hammering every single, and I've watched, I would say 80 to 85% of its rallies. I mean, literally
Right.
that many. And not all of them all the way through, but I've watched most of them. But anyway, this is stuff he talks about all the time.
Right. And
so
he's in
when
touch
he
with the
talked about
people
it,
on, yeah.
It was almost like most of the debate for Trump was going back with like talking from a rally.
Which is
point of
smart, because this is the information he knows. This is the information that he's
Absolutely.
best at conveying. He's very passionate about that information because, you know, he
Yeah.
talks about it all the time. Those are the things that Americans want to know about. They kept alluding to, and I even got some Facebook posts about, you know, when are they going to get to the things that are more important to us? Well, I tell you what, people, to me as a U.S. military veteran, and to anyone else that served time in public office and has had to deal with classified information, I had a secret clearance in the Navy and was required to go through this training to learn what a secret clearance meant and what would happen to us if we did not obey that secret clearance. And it really disturbs me that someone in that high of an office has a different standard about and can get away with something like that. So
Right.
that's just something that is very important to majority of Americans that know anything about it. Now, if you don't have any insight onto it, if you're not a veteran or so on and so forth, and pull your mic away just a little bit, Ken. You sound like Trump's breathing into the speaker.
Am I sniffing?
Yeah. Majority of Americans that have had some experience in the military or worked in government and have had to go through this monotonous training about how to handle classified material. You can't leave a classified document open on your desk. If you can't leave a classified document open on your desk when there's people around you that may or may not have the same clearance, what does that say about putting it in an email and claiming ignorance, claiming that she apologized for it? And that was one point I'd made as well. She claimed that she admitted that she was wrong and apologized for it, but yet claims that all this stuff that he said was not true. And yet,
Right.
I don't remember seeing her actually ever apologize for that, other than just saying, because she hadn't admitted that she actually did it. When Trump
Well,
apologized,
here's the thing. When I worked for the U.S. Department of Commerce, I worked for the federal government,
right?
and we had a secured laptop computer. I know exactly what she had.
Right.
We had a secured laptop computer, and we had, it wasn't like top priority classified information like Hillary would get. In fact, she even admitted today that the information she had was very top priority, very highly classified. She stepped on her own foot.
She's done it numerous
I
times,
don't
but
think she even knew it.
but I think all you got to do is
But anyway,
she smirks
my
and
point
it goes
is
away.
that when we had that information, we had to sign like 30 different pages of paperwork telling how we were not going to ever, put the computer down for even a moment, leave it in our car, disclose, do anything personal email-wise or anything like that. And most importantly, we were not going to take any information and email it, and I remember this specifically, and email it to our private accounts.
Right.
To any of our private accounts, much less a private server set up in a basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, to do so would be, instant firing, and it would have been a felony.
Yeah, criminal prosecution
and they
would
would
follow
have gone after
immediately.
us.
Absolutely, absolutely. It happens all the time. It happened to a kid who took a picture inside a submarine on a boat not too long ago. And yes, he should have known not to do that, because I tell you what, if you're on a submarine, you're going to get trained to handle classified information. If you're the Secretary of the freaking state and a former senator, I guarantee you've been trained to handle classified information. You're not ignorant to
Right.
it. You have no excuse to do something wrong like that, because you know better. And that's what she's trying to get off,
Absolutely.
like she does not know better. That's the biggest crock of crap that I've ever seen in my life. When somebody would play ignorance to that as the Secretary of State, the third in command in the United States of America, okay? The president dies, vice president dies, Secretary of State is in line next, okay? That was very dangerous for us to do, obviously. The fact that she's being considered for president is mind-blowing just for that reason only, nothing else. If we put nothing else in factored in, that by itself is enough to keep her out. Just because I've been there, I don't know what the training is now, and it's different because we didn't have email when I got my clearance. I do know they did a background check. They came and visited with neighbors and family and friends during the background check, and that clearance, we went through, I believe it was a 3-day indoctrination course about what that meant and how that goes about. So, and what to do with any information we had a hold of. So the fact that she claims ignorance with that is just a blatant lie. It's absolutely a blatant lie. And I'm glad. I typed this on my Facebook, and during the whole debate, I was typing, little blurbs on Facebook about what I thought. One of the best lines of the entire debate was when she said, it's a good thing that you're not in a position of power in this country right now. And he said, yeah, because you'd be in jail. And I jumped up and down and screamed and hollered. And if you guys could tell, my voice is about gone because I was screaming through this debate like it was one of the best football games I'd ever seen.
That was classic Trump at his absolute best.
It was epic timing.
And the thing that amazed me the most is, and I didn't even see this, when he came out and after talking about the 30,000 emails deleted and acid wash and all that, he went on to say, hey, look, when I win this thing, I'm putting together a special prosecutor that will go after you. And I was like, holy shit.
He said that just before that line. And then she came on and said, well, it's a good thing that you're not. And he said exactly what every one of us were thinking. Yeah, because you would be in jail. And
exactly.
That was, I got to give him props for that. That's probably the best line I've ever heard Donald Trump make, and even on The Apprentice or anything else. That's probably the #1 line I've ever heard from him. But that was my favorite by far, and it held out through the end of the debate, even though there's some other good stuff there. Let's see, what do you got next on the whole list here?
Well, after that, he went on to now immediately after that. Now Martha started to back Trump on the email allegations.
She jumped in there for a second.
The moderators turn around.
She jumped in there for a second, and backed out pretty quick though. She did. I think she was trying to show some unbiased by delving into it, even though
she knew that Trump had just took a wrecking ball.
That's true.
To Hillary's entire campaign, pretty much. I'll tell you what. At that point, when he said because you'd be in jail, I think that might have been the tipping point right there. Where I was on GLP, which is a huge political forum, and at that point, everyone started saying he just won the election.
my pastor, okay, and he's probably going to be mad at me for mentioning his name, Jeff Spooneyberger. My pastor is not a Trump supporter at all. As a matter of fact, he's been talking about how, you can't support somebody that's this way, so on and so forth. A lot of us in the church don't agree with him, and that's okay because he doesn't put that point out while we're in church. It's his private opinion, and he kind of puts it out privately to those of us that want to know. But he actually came on and made a comment that was a very good line when that happened. So I think that might have.
And here's to make that even better. Trump gets right back on the subject. He doesn't back off at all. He doubles down, triples down, and says, "Look, she deleted these things after she got subpoenaed."
Exactly.
Who does that?
Exactly. And all she could do was put that smirk on that I don't want. Listen. I'm not a sexist. I would never hit a woman, but I tell you what, there's nothing that makes me even consider hitting a woman more than that smirk on her face, because
right.
somebody needs to wipe it off. I'm not saying it's going to be me, But somebody needs to wipe that smirk off her face. And it didn't show up quite as much tonight, and it certainly didn't work. Like you said, it didn't work tonight like it did last time. Last time it was very undermining.
She was definitely on the defensive
the
whole
very
night.
Much so.
She had maybe one or two good comebacks on certain issues, but by that time, she'd already lost all credibility.
Well, and that's the thing. People, I hate to sound this biased and slanted, but it's not that I'm for Trump as much as I am against Hillary Clinton. I've seen so much happen, and there's a post on my Facebook, and I actually was going to read it, but I didn't bring it up, that I wrote earlier about apologies. Donald Trump came out with an apology video a few days ago about the whole video thing, and people were complaining that his apology wasn't sincere enough, and so on and so forth, and that he still said it and all this stuff. And the post I made was, what has Hillary Clinton apologized for? Have you ever heard Hillary apologize for,
No.
And I just made a list of all the things that we know of that she's done and done that have been destructive. Didn't even go into, I went into the creation of ISIS, which was, for the most part, her fault. The arms selling that has come out recently that most people don't even know about. WikiLeaks came out with it after the big debacle with their big October surprise. They came out a couple of days later with some papers that showed and proved that she definitively knew and had to do with weapons being sold to ISIS, to Al-Qaeda, or those factions of the Syrian rebels that became that. There's proof in it.
With Clinton, you've got, her trade deals are disastrous. She lied about.
Well, her trade deals are self-serving. Her trade deals have to do with who gives her a big enough donation that those policies get passed. It doesn't have anything to do with the benefit of us as Americans, and that's what people are failing to see. She talks a lot.
She performed favors for donors.
Oh, that's
Secretary of State.
That's how she's made what, $240 million since Bill was president.
She made millions from speeches about the special interest and all that,
and got Bill to go speak for millions of dollars worth of donations that normally.
She supported NAFTA with her husband.
Yep, big time.
She supported China's entrance into the World Trade Organization. She's backed the Hillary-backed trade agreements. Adopted nearly a third of America's manufacturing jobs have disappeared.
Yep.
Because of that.
Now, I'm not trying to make this an attack on Hillary, and I know it's real easy to go that when you feel this way, but one thing I noticed in this debate tonight, she was adamant about bad Russia. Folks, I was in the military when Russia was bad, okay? We had Russian bears fly over our ship spying on us, and that was a scary thing. Pre-wall fall. That's when I was in the military. Russia then was a different country than they are now. I'm not saying that Russia is a bunch of saints, but Russia is not our enemy right now. And the biggest, scariest thing that she said is how she wants to take Russia out. It's obvious.
Well, I have a theory on that that's a little bit conspiratorial, but
well, let's kick it out there and see how accurate it ends up being.
Let's just say that we should be watching Obama's reactions to Russia over the next coming weeks.
Really?
Very, very closely.
Well,
and that's all I really want to say about that. But
we'll delve into that in a couple of weeks and see if you were right.
Yeah,
because that's interesting.
She said that if there's some sort of a campaign that starts up against Russia, whether it be in Syria or, God forbid, we do some sort of a tactical or worst case scenario nuclear launch.
I think it would be on the Syrian front. I don't think it would be anywhere but Syria, but because that's their excuse for it. Right now, that's the only excuse they would have to go to war with Russia in any way, shape, or form. People be very aware The
Obama
Russian
is a loose cannon right now.
Because
Obama is the most dangerous man in the world right now.
he's trying to get Hillary in office, and that's one way that he could do it. That makes a lot of sense. The conspiracy has
Right.
been for a long time that Obama's going to do something drastic prior to the election or right after the election to keep himself in office. And I don't know. He kind of looks like he's winding down to me, so I don't think maybe that's the deal. But in effect, by having Hillary in office, he is keeping himself in office. So that's
Right.
one way to look at it from that. The conspiracy's been that for a long time. Even since the last election, people have been talking about the fact that you wait, he's not going to go easy. I saw one theory that he said he wasn't going to vacate the White House if Trump was elected. I
Right.
mean, it's just bizarre the types of things that people that these people will say, thinking
Yeah.
that they can get
If
away
he,
with.
If he does start something, if something unusual, but it won't be because he's trying to help Hillary. It's because he's trying to maintain power for himself.
That's what I
It'll
believe
have
as well.
nothing to do with Hillary at that point.
But let me ask you this: with something as corrupt as the Clinton Foundation in play, okay, and the fact that has not been turned inside out, upside down, and completely dissolved at this point, and people thrown in jail for it, even if they didn't throw Hillary and Bill in jail for it, the people working it should be, there's a whole list of people that should go to jail for something like this happening.
Right.
If with that in play,
and that's something. That's why when Trump said that tonight, I mean, he's put himself out on the proverbial edge. Let's just say.
With some of it, yeah, he hasn't gone too far out. He's made mentionings of it. He hasn't delved too deep into it with anything except for the emails at this point. And he did reach out and talk about Bill Clinton. I mean, it's a fact, people. Bill Clinton was impeached for his behavior in office. It's a fact.
Right.
Congress
Right.
at that time was almost as weak as they are now, and they still impeached him. So he had to have done some pretty bad stuff. And I know a lot of you don't remember that, or weren't old enough to remember that, or weren't even born when that happened. But that's a fact. It happened. It means something. It matters that he was impeached. It matters that he did those things in the Oval Office. It matters that his wife tried to cover them up because she was trying to preserve her position. Her position all along, and people that are close to the Clintons will tell you this, he's been the puppet for her dominance. He's been the hand puppet to get her where she's at today, to eventually become the Queen of America. And I say it not even sarcastically. You see the gradual fall of the other powers and the rise of the executive powers in this country over the last few presidencies. Okay, not just Obama, but also the last Bush. Actually, since Bush 1 was in office, you've seen those executive powers coming up and meaning more on the to the regular citizen, because we hear about them more because they're issues that actually affect us. Before, executive powers were not used in that light. They weren't used to pass a personal agenda so much as they were used to keep things that were just out of hand taking place. Now they're being used to forward personal agendas. One of the things that was leaked in the WikiLeaks papers also was that Hillary Clinton would immediately take executive action to close the gun show loophole and to make the background checks and internet loophole closed up, and make the background checks harder for the Second Amendment for gun rights. And
right.
Trump made his point. He mentioned that, and she came out and actually just proved what he said. She's attacking the Second Amendment. One thing I want everybody to realize: if a leader is good and has your best interest in mind, he's going to want you to be armed. Because an armed populace is strength for a country. If a leader...
And notice how tonight she tried to say, she's all for the Second Amendment, and that is a huge lie.
Yeah, I mean, she said it herself. She wanted to close the gun hole loophole and the internet loophole and make background checks harder to get. People don't go buy guns legally and then go out and murder people. It happens very rarely. The people that follow laws and buy guns regularly are the people that are responsible gun owners. Okay, there's already a gun show or already a background check system in place that works very well. The people that go murder people don't usually go buy a legal firearm to do it. They go buy it on the black market illegally, or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I understand people think that the gun show loophole is that, but you know what, people, it's free trade as well, and you're stepping on a lot of lines when you do that. You take away people's ability to trade and do things freely. The fact that she does not want the populace armed is alarming. When a
I want to
ruler,
get your opinion on something, because I still don't know what to make of it.
okay,
What is your opinion on this Captain Khan? Not the Captain Khan. Captain Khan was the actual soldier,
right,
and he fought for us, and he died
bravely,
for our country.
exactly.
And he was a true hero. But I'm talking about the father. What do you think? I mean, the way I see it is that he is a classic example of a father using his son as an excuse for a political talking point.
I think that was shut down very, very quickly after it came out. I don't know why she would even bring that up, because it was proven that he even received funds from her, or had put funds in the Clinton Foundation or something. I don't remember the exact article, but I did see an article about his tie with her. He had ties with her prior to.
Okay, now good. I'm glad you said that, because I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, and I'll have to look that up, people, and see if I can find the article where I did see that at, and vet the resource.
Oh, I believe you.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure that the viewers and listeners, I'm not giving them false information here, so I will check on that. We'll get back to that in a future show too. But good question, Ken. It really surprised me that she brought that up, because it almost looked like she was scraping the barrel trying to find something.
Right. Now, even Martha, after that whole exchange on banning the Muslims and all that, Martha went back to Hillary, and I was surprised on this, and she said, Hillary, why the 550% increase?
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was stunned.
And Hillary couldn't give an answer for that. She didn't give an answer. She
didn't.
She spun
she
it off.
talked about thinking about the children of the suffering due to the Russian aggression and this stuff. And
right.
She did not answer the question.
The point is there's a very legitimate reason for bringing that many people in here and not vetting them, and that's because you want to disrupt the masses. You want to do what's been done the last 8 years. You want to bring a division into the people, because when you can divide people, you can conquer people. When you can divide them and disarm them, it's real easy to conquer them. When you can put them
pushing of the globalist agenda, number one,
absolutely,
and then number two, it's also as simple as just adding more Hillary voters. I mean, that's how she thinks.
At the risk of being a conspiracy theorist here, I'm going to go out on a limb here. This show is called The Big Picture, so we're going to look at the big picture here, okay? If your agenda is to destroy America, you can't just
and
do
you bring in 550% more migrants.
You can't
that's
just do
one
it
thing you do.
from the outside. America is such a strong country. Even today, people, America is a beautifully strong country compared to the rest of the world. The only way that you're going to destroy a country like that is from the inside out. The only way you're going to destroy a country like what we have is to turn us against each other. The only way that we're going to join a world government and get rid of our independence and our sovereignty is if we're forced to, because we've been divided so far that we can't come together and defend ourselves from it. America's always been very strong at defending themselves from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay? What we're dealing with here is a domestic enemy that is trying to divide us to a point and break us down to a point that we can be rebuilt on a multinational stage. We can be governed and rebuilt with new currency. That's why they're trying to break the dollar. Mm-hmm. And with a new government. The UN resolutions that have been out there and have been passed by most other countries, we have avoided for the most part up until recently. And now, and this was started, this is not a left and right issue. George Bush Sr. was a major advocate of the UN resolutions and UN governance. Yes. He was the one who started this thing down the road. Those of you that don't know how close the Clintons and Bushes are together, you need to research that. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact, okay? And if you look at the policies, they're very similar. They go down the same road.
I was surprised that Jeb Bush didn't sit next to Bill Clinton tonight.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, because the whole family is, other than Jeb Bush's son. Jeb Bush's son came out and endorsed Donald Trump not too long ago, which was quite a surprise.
No, that's right. Yeah,
I wonder if he got disowned for that one. I don't know.
he probably did.
George Bush Sr. did come out and endorse Hillary Clinton for president, which, you know, it's not that bizarre to somebody that knows his past, but when they're trying to keep appearances up between, you know, I call it the professional wrestling dilemma. It's you act like enemies on stage, and then you go have a couple of beers and pat each other on the butt and smoke a couple of cigars behind the scenes because you're best buddies and you're just trying to make money on it. And that's exactly what the Bush Clinton families have done together since the very beginning.
Exactly.
So now we look at the breakdown of America. We look at somebody trying to come in here and destroy this country for what it is and what it was. You send all the jobs overseas. You open the borders so that trade is not, you make horrible trade deals, which keeps your country from rising up for it and benefiting from it. Every trade deal that's been negotiated, and this is one thing that Donald Trump does talk about consistently, every trade deal that's in place right now has been negotiated poorly to the point where we lose on every single one of them. We haven't won anything. There may be,
and Joey, he's been saying that from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
And I know that you say that you support Trump now more because for Trump. But I would suggest to you that with a combination of his trade policies, his economic policies, his willingness to repeal and replace Obamacare, and all of the other things that he has specifically outlined, that really Trump is a lot more sound than I would say most people give him credit for, even his supporters.
I absolutely say that. I think his demeanor comes off as buffoonery, but his ideas and his policies are very much there. The tax plan that they talked about quite a bit, and I was watching just before he came on some of the commentary on ABC, and they were vetting the answers between the Trump tax plan and the Hillary tax plan, and of course they vetted in Hillary's favor, saying that she was right and he was wrong, that his taxes would raise it on the middle class. As far as what I know, from what I've seen from the tax plan, Donald Trump wants to free businesses so they can operate in the United States. That's one of his major ordeals. You're not going to do that by taxing them more. You're going to, if you tax a large business more, they're going to leave. Just like Carrier AC Corporation has done, just like Ford has done, just like numerous other companies, these big companies have went elsewhere because it costs too much to operate in America. Okay, the Film Commission in the United States, for most states and most areas that are trying to draw filming into their state or their area, will put out a bonus or a spiff of sometimes $200,000 to $500,000 to a film company to come film in their town. Not because they're trying to make the film company rich, people, but because they know that the resources that are getting used there are going to mean income for the people that live there, and that the advertisement of that town as a good place to come and film is going to draw more film crews there to film, and is going to stimulate their economy. What Donald Trump is trying to do is the same exact thing. Make it lucrative for businesses to operate in America. Now, what's happened with business, and as a small business owner myself, and I have been most of my adult life, it is extremely hard at any level to own a business in America. It's not impossible, but they make it as hard as they can for you. I have one of my cousin, Aaron Hasley, and his wife own Wine and Palate in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I was with him during the build-up of his location and so on and so forth. We did the build-out and everything together. The amount of permits that he had to have, the amount of licenses that he had to get in this, and this is a small to medium-sized business. This is not a giant business. It's bigger than anything I've owned, but it's not a huge business. The amount of money that he had to put out just to even get started was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Right.
It's hard to do business in America right now because of all the constraints, because of the taxes, because of the licenses, the permitting. We pay more in taxes than any country in the world. And this is a country that was founded on people leaving another country because the taxes were too damn high. What sense does that make?
Tax cuts are going to create not hundreds of thousands, but millions and millions of jobs.
I truly believe that.
Tax cuts alone are going to do that.
I truly believe that. And the pundits are all attacking it, saying it's just going to cause more debt, more debt. It can't cause more debt. It can't cause more debt because you know what's going to happen? If the money's not there to spend, you jerks in Congress got to stop spending it on your programs. And when these programs get cut, guess what? Guess how much money is going to go away from that debt when Obamacare goes away? That's going to be huge, people.
There's so much red tape and pork and crap.
Absolutely.
In all these different bureaucracies throughout the land, and there's thousands of them.
I tell you what.
When I worked for the federal government, I saw that firsthand.
Oh yeah, anybody that does, you will.
The money that was being wasted.
Yep.
And I sat there and I thought, God, if some of this money could go to the military, that'd be fantastic.
Well, the military does the same thing. The military, I mean, you pay $2,000 for a freaking toilet brush in the military. It's absolutely insane.
Right.
And that's an example of corporatocracy. It's these huge corporations that are padding the pockets of lawmakers, making the laws to favor them so that only they get the work, only they get the money, and it's just the good old boy system. It's a Southern Democrat system put in place in the federal level from back in the day. The good old boy system is
a long time ago that I think that I don't know if you remember this or not, but he said that he's going to be going to all these generals that are endorsing him, by the way.
Right, over 200.
And say, look, don't tell me what you need. Tell me what you want.
Right.
And tell me how you want it. In other words, the kind of equipment that they actually want, not the kind of equipment that the government wants to push onto them.
Right, because of some defense contractor that has this and has a whole warehouse full of them and needs to sell them to the federal government. And they go pad, let's see, I've got a warehouse full of 200 million tanks, okay? I need to sell, or let's say $200 million worth of tanks, not 200 million. $200 million worth of tanks, which wouldn't be that many. I need to sell those tanks because sitting in that warehouse are not doing me any good. My option is I can go sell these piece of crap tanks to somebody like
Sell to an ally.
Yeah. Or I can get a contract with the U.S. government, charge $500 billion for them instead of $200 billion because that's how it works. And all of a sudden, I'm putting people to work as a defense contract and so on and so forth, but it's not real money, people. And the problem when you prop up businesses and they don't really bring benefit, the money that they produce isn't real. It's gonna freaking blow up somehow, somewhere, sometime. The YF-22 program in the military, the newest airplane that was supposed to be the all services aircraft, has been an absolute economic disaster. All because they didn't listen to the generals and the admirals. Because they decided they wanted to do this and they were going to push this thing, and the right congressman got paid off to make this the bird of choice when there were other better choices out there to take its place. That could have been money could have been spent way wiser, and we could have already had an aircraft that had replaced all the other aircraft in the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force, okay, and the Marine Corps.
Right.
But because somebody had an agenda, this thing got pushed through. It's an absolute piece of crap. They're just now getting it operational, and it's still not operational to the point of the F/A-18 Hornet or the F-16 Falcon or F-15, the aircraft that are still in the air today. But that's an example of the type of waste that goes on in our federal government system. If you've ever been a part of it, you've seen it firsthand.
Another thing is that you've got China. I mean, they've already, Boeing has moved, the aircraft company has moved a huge amount of their operations over to China.
That's insane.
China, I'm not anti-China, but they need to go back to making Slinkies and silly putty.
Yeah, exactly. And not warbirds. Yeah, not military equipment. They have too many soldiers.
Military craft and all that stuff.
And the Chinese are good. Even if they're not good at making it themselves, they're very good at copying it. So, with a company like Boeing, with a presence in China, is disastrous for us. We need to bring all those companies back, and I think Trump's plan is a benefit for that. It's the only way that's going to take place, because otherwise the corporations that have their foot in the door here and that have the hold are going to hold it. They're not going to let go of it unless something changes. It's a mess, people. There's no easy way out of it. There's no easy way to fix it. All I know is Hillary Clinton would continue on with what's going on. The mess would become greater and greater. The only reason I think Donald Trump has an answer is because he's not a politician. He's not a career politician. He hasn't been in there with the same type of thinking that politicians have about, well, I can't do that because that's just the way it's always been, or I can't ruffle too many feathers. He's good at ruffling feathers, obviously. Obviously, very good at ruffling feathers. That's what needs to happen in Washington.
The one critique that I would give of Trump, and this is where so many people, some of these late night talk show hosts get their punchlines and all that.
Wait a second, people.
Trump
Ken
is
Frederickson is giving a critique on Trump. Okay.
Trump is a great speaker, but he has a tendency to repeat himself sometimes if he's off of the teleprompter, and he can come across as not speaking down to people, but speaking
at people
at like a high school level, or maybe a mid-high level, something like that. And he doesn't do it. I think that he's very, very intelligent, but he's slowly learning to communicate that way.
Well, he's used to communicating on a TV show. He's used to being entertaining, not
right. He's used to being an entertainer,
right, and being intimidating. I mean, his whole role on The Apprentice is to be intimidating, not to be, reach out and touch the people. One thing I've seen though in his rallies, and there was a video posted down in Miami. He went into a Cuban restaurant and was just, they ordered food. They talked with these Cuban people. I mean, he was making contact with people on an intimate basis, and that's something that Hillary Clinton will not do because she freaking abhors
Well, I think
people.
the one thing that he did tonight, and I don't know how many people noticed this or not, but at the first debate and at every rally, he gets very loud.
Right.
But if you notice tonight, he did not get loud even once.
He did a much better job of not being a buffoon tonight. He was much more polished than he has been in the past. Like I said, he will continue and get better at this as it goes. He doesn't have the experience that Hillary Clinton does. I mean, for God's sakes, this woman's been in front of Congress testifying and lying out of her teeth and kept calm about it, other than a few outbursts. She's a very polished speaker, has been doing it her whole adult life. And that's just something to look at. She's a politician. She's a career politician. The people that support her, even the Republicans that bailed on Trump and on the Republican ticket and are supporting her, are career politicians. And I guarantee you that she's got something on most of them. And that's why they're jumped on her ship. She's got something on most of them, or they have something to lose if Trump gets in there. So they're going to jump on her ship, and that's what the deal is. That's the problem with the two-party ticket. That's the problem with not letting third and fourth parties in and dealing with people that actually have real ideas. The fact that Donald Trump snuck in there, whether he convinced them that he was going to play the game and that's why they let him in, I don't know. Okay, I still don't understand. That's probably my biggest concern with Trump, is that he gets in there being a proponent of the people, and all of a sudden he starts playing the game like everybody else does. I pray that's not the case. Okay,
he can't be. He's not held accountable by anyone except the American people, and he's said that over and over and over again, because he has no one has any money in the game with him.
Right.
He won't allow it.
Well, I
do have one more prediction, by the way.
Okay.
For probably the next coming week or two, and this is going to be, I believe, this is going to be Hillary's next big move.
Okay.
And basically, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, Hillary very quietly somehow put together some false allegations against Trump about him supposedly raping a 14-year-old girl.
Really?
And her operatives or whatever, they put this thing together, I believe is out of New York, and they just put together like the preliminary papers or whatever, and then a little bit of it leaked, and then Trump came out and said, you know, obviously it's ridiculous. It's just manufactured false accusations, categorically denied everything, and it just fell by the wayside. Okay.
Right. I didn't hear anything about that. That's funny.
It's in there, and you can look it up online. Just look, you know, Google Trump rape.
Wow.
And so Alex Jones, he's been keeping on top of it, and he and Roger Stone predict that this thing is going to all of a sudden come back up to light in the next week or two, and she's going to say, you know, and then the reason that this was planted so stealthily in the first place was that so she can go back and say, well, yeah, this was brought up months ago.
Right, so they can bring it out just before the election and try to.
It'll be brought up at such a time to where it'll be close enough to where nothing can be proven, and it'll, you know, maybe put a big question mark. And it's going to be like Hillary's last stand. It's going to be.
Well, people, I want you to listen to this, okay? Because this is exactly the type of game Hillary Clinton plays. If this does happen, you heard it here first. If you didn't hear it on InfoWars or Roger Stone,
right.
If you heard it here, I want you to be aware of this and go back in the archive and look at this. That this was brought up, and this is probably going to take place because she's going to take a last stand. She's not, like he said in the debate tonight, she is a fighter and she does not give up. She will do anything, go to any lengths to get what she wants. And this is a distinct possibility it might come out. So because of that, you need to realize what a fabrication it is. You need to spread this word so people are aware of it beforehand, because if this comes out as a surprise a week before the election, it will wreak havoc, regardless of whether it's true or not.
And just to give you an idea of how ridiculous it is, the person that was in charge of putting together this whole production literally was the same guy that produces the Jerry Springer Show.
Wow.
And yeah. And the other guy, Nick Kudlow, I think his name is, he has tried these hoaxes before. This is not his first stab at this.
Wow.
And that's the people that Hillary is using to put together this little thing. Again, I believe it's out of New York, and it has something to do with like a 14-year-old girl, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, we will keep an eye out for it. And like I said, people, you need to spread this word as far and wide as you can. Those of you that stayed with us and listened this long, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate your input. Please comment on the videos. Let us know what you think. If you want to call in and talk to us about this, we welcome your call. We're working on a setup system where I can have Ken on camera as well, and also do multiple callers. So as we grow technologically, we'll be able to bring you more stuff. I've got to shut this show down now because I've got a lot of editing to do before I can upload it to YouTube. It takes a while, for those of you that don't know. And Ken, I appreciate you coming on. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to in the next few weeks. I predict we're going to have more shows as things progress. So stay on the line with us, people. Click subscribe when you go watch this video. Please watch some of the other videos as well, but it doesn't help us unless you subscribe. Go subscribe and watch a few videos. Help us keep this show on the air. Help us keep bringing information to you that hopefully you find valuable. We appreciate your support in every way that you can. We love you. God bless America, and heaven help us. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joey.